All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Ask the King, episode 85 from March 4th, 2021. This is part 3, the final part. We got a few more questions to go through, some shout outs, some good stuff coming up here. So thank you guys for tuning in, whether you watched on YouTube or you're still here live on stream. I appreciate that. Thanks to everyone who's contributed so far today. I appreciate that as well. And now, let's get into the finale, shall we? All right. So the next question is from James Nichols, and he has a pretty long and lengthy question, I believe. Okay? Let's see what it is. This looks pretty long. James asks the following. Phil, I've been following you since Metroid Other M way back in 2010. And you've been part of my life over the last 10 years. I've been a fan of yours through the highs and lows, all the controversies and drama. While there's certainly been things I've disagreed with you on or times when you've done some things wrong, you still remain one of my favorite content creators, and I can't thank you enough for pushing forward positively and continuing on in spite of the ungodly amount of hate that you receive. As cheesy as it sounds, you're an inspiration, so thanks for keeping on and staying true to yourself. Over the last few years, you've adopted chill streams, where sometimes you play games that are somewhat secondary to the interactions with stream chat and the conversations that you have with your followers. In the modern era, games like Destiny, The Division, or The Avengers have become popular in spite of their flaws as a result of addicting gameplay and a deep endgame that, while repetitive, can be very relaxing and fun to play in a more chill environment. Oftentimes, these games have positive elements that their initial story-based campaigns fail to fully deliver on, and only people who actually stick around to play them on a regular basis can see that depth that the games have. My question is as follows. What would the developers need to do to any of these games and live service games, that's what I should have said, to any of these live service games, to interest you enough to consider playing one on a chill stream format? Why do you think they failed to interest you up to this point? All right, this honestly is probably not as complex as you're thinking, James. And honestly, this is probably one that's going to be an easy answer, even though that was a pretty big preface to ask the question properly. Just listen to the games that you just said. You said Destiny, The Division, or The Avengers. And you said all these games, if I had played them longer term, would have had more content that maybe you get to feel where the real end game is, or you feel where the real value of the game is, correct? True. Every single one of those games, except for The Division, I played the campaign. And then I went ahead and I did some co-op gameplay, checked out things like the raids in Destiny. I did one or two. And in Avengers, again, played through the campaign and did a few, optional side missions or whatever to see what the game was. Division, I never played. Remember, I played the Division 2 beta or whatever. Or was the Division 2 free? I think the Division 2 was free like 2 years ago during E3 week, and I played it for like 1 or 2 sessions co-op with viewers, right? Okay. So, what's the common thing between all those games you just mentioned? It's very simple. They're all online co-op experiences. If you were to try to play Destiny, The Division, The Avengers, any of these co-op looter shooter games, all right, by yourself, those experiences would be completely different and probably boring and not even possible. You can't do a raid by yourself. You have to have a dedicated cooperative group to play these games with in order to play them at a high level, correct? I mean, I think I'm correct there. Well, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe there are situations where you can actually play those games solo and do well. I don't know. But from what I'm to understand, those are designed at their core to be co-op experiences where each character can have a build that complements the build of another character. One healer, one support guy, a tank, a damage dealer, etc. Like, that's the point, is that you're not trying to do it all alone. Now, one of the major things about the success of those games is that you have a team that has camaraderie. You're working together, you're interacting, you're talking and communicating with those other people across the world to play with them and to make your efforts to do whatever you're going to do in the game successful, right? The raid, big scale raid, giant boss, little minion, waves of minions, taking it on, getting crazy good loot for doing it, right? I get that. I've done that before. I've done that style of gameplay before. Was it necessarily in a shooter? No. I used to play MMOs. I used to play World of Warcraft. I used to play City of Thieves, City of Villains. I've been there, done that. I know how that works, and it works well. When you have a dedicated group of players who are playing games together, and you're friendly with them, you have fun conversation while you're kind of joining in to try to succeed in the games. That's really cool. Admittedly, 100%. I get that. But here's the thing. I'm not a guy sitting on his couch playing games with his friends over the internet. I'm a content creator. I put out a stream that's meant to be entertaining to the masses. You see? Now, 10 years ago, I was doing co-op with John Rambo. We would do co-op games. They'd be fun. Were these kind of games prominent back then? No, they weren't. In fact, they were few and far between when you get a co-op looter shooter back then. But I get it. Having someone to you do gameplay with or whatever, again, it makes it more robust. It makes it interesting. It takes some of the burden of the load off of you that you're the only person putting out a product. Instead, it's two people working together. You see what I mean? And I'm well aware that there are content creators out there right now that they have dedicated teams of people who they team up with online. They do these cooperative games, and it's very entertaining content, and their audiences love it, and they're very successful making that kind of content, okay? But not the case with me. All right, why? Well, there have been a couple times over the years that I've actually tried to put out that kind of content. Remember when Destiny 2 came out? Not only did I play through the entire game with a co-op team, but then we did post-game content as well. I had 3 or 4 people who I was teaming up with, and we were doing raids and things after the fact, after the main campaign had ended. People hated it. When Apex Legends first came out, was it 2 years ago now? Either 2 or 3 years ago. I think it was 2 years ago, 2019. I teamed up with people like Brian and Kekken, and we had a dedicated party where we would go out and work together and try to survive and learn the characters, and we did well, actually. If you actually look about the month and a half, 2 months that we were consistently playing Apex Legends at least once a week, we did well. We were winning, we were doing good. It wasn't always a win, but we were getting wins by the end there fairly consistently, where every session we would at least get a win, if not more. And it was good, it was fun. Like I said, us chatting, camaraderie, working together, it was cool, it was good stuff. But for whatever reason, it doesn't resonate with my viewing audience. In fact, I can tell you this, okay? I can tell you this. When I was playing those games, I was getting feedback that people didn't like those streams, and here's why. Phil, when we tune into a stream, we want to interact with you. We want to have a direct line with you so we can talk with you, let you know what we think about the gameplay that's going on in the game, or you can tell us what you think about what's going on in the game. We want to have you constantly reading stream chat, talking to us, interacting, giving shout-outs, etc. When I did those playthroughs, all that stuff had to go by the wayside because I was focused on the game and doing team-based gameplay with other people. When you're constantly focusing and communicating with the people in the game, you then can't also focus with a totally other different group of people over here on the laptop. You see? It's too much to juggle. And I guarantee you, people who are successful putting out this cooperative content are not going, yes, we're doing this. Oh, wait, over here, what's going on over here? Oh, shout out. Oh, wait, what's this over here? Oh, what's a shout out? You're too distracted. I found myself when I was doing that kind of gameplay, especially Apex, having to hyper focus on the game, and then between the matches, oh wow, like six contributions came in between the match. Let me give a shout out. And people didn't like that. People told me outright, we're here for you. We're not here for Brian. We're not here for Kekken. If we wanted to be here for them, we'd go watch them stream. We're here for you. So it's cool you're having that interaction, but we want to talk to you. And you're being distracted, and you're not having that interactive situation or that interactive stream with us because you're talking with those guys, and we don't like that. All right. Now, in addition to that, all right, the content that I used to put out that was co-op with John Rambo, did you notice? Guess what? It wasn't interactive streaming. It just wasn't. That was before I was an interactive streamer. The stuff that was made specifically for YouTube, and then later on we live streamed and then uploaded to YouTube, was just us interacting. That's why it worked. We were isolated. We focused on the game. We basically bullshitted with each other. That's why that stuff worked. Okay? So, for me, if I was going to go full in on playing a game like Destiny, Division, or Avengers, and I was going to have a team of people dedicated to play, great. I would probably enjoy it. I really enjoyed the time that I played Destiny 2 and Apex Legends. Even though I'm not in love with those games, I thought those were really entertaining streams for me because I was hanging out with other people and having fun. But my audience outright was telling me that it was boring. That's why I ultimately stopped playing Apex Legends. I played it for 2 months, and after 2 months, people were telling me, we're not going to come to your streams anymore. Those are boring. We're skipping those streams. We're waiting for you to just hang out with us again. So that's why, It wasn't that I didn't like Apex Legends. It wasn't that, let's be honest. Yes, the game was getting stale, for sure, but then they started releasing DLC content and stuff. Brian wanted to keep playing it. Brian did keep playing it. After, I had dropped it, he continued to support the game for a while. I don't think he plays it anymore, but he did continue to support to play it for a long time. But all I have to do, it's very simple. I have to follow the feedback of my viewers. When my viewers in majority are saying, we don't like that content because you're not interacting with us anymore, that's when I have to take a step back and reassess what's going on. That's why I didn't play Destiny 2 at any length after I beat the campaign, and that's why after 2 months I never played Apex Legends again. You know, if we were a different situation and the audience didn't care that I wasn't really interacting with them as much because I'm hanging out with other people, I'd be okay with it. But that's the feedback I've gotten, is that people are more focused on me interacting with them. So, all right, I received 2 tips. Let me just check on them to make sure that they're real. I want to get lax now and get screwed over. I just want to check on them. We only have a few questions left. We have 1 question left from the forums, a couple from Twitter here, and some shout-outs to do. So the show's almost over. All right. Shout-out to Internal Miscreant, who tipped me $5. Thank you very much as you're enjoying the show. And 672 tipped me $6.72 and said, what was the question? The question was, why don't I find myself playing games such as Destiny, Marvel's Avengers, or The Division, which are more games as a service long-term? You have to play them online cooperative. Why don't I play that kind of game? Because really, I'm not getting the full picture of what those games are, only playing through the limited campaigns and not going any further. That was the question. Thank you for the tips, guys. We're now up to $65 in tips with about a half an hour left on the stream. We're close, but no cigar yet. All right. The final question from the forums is from Richie7. He says, when you review games, what are the major criteria you use to judge one against another? How important is originality versus a game that may not do anything new but is executed really well? Where do you turn to if you're looking for a review of a game or other form of entertainment? There's objective factors and subjective factors. Objective factors, very big. Length of a game. Difficulty level of a game. Accessibility. How much graphics. Beauty, level of graphics, detailing graphics. Right? How level design, originality in the level design. Does it feel like another game you've played, or did they do something completely different that works? Right? There's a million objective things. Length, value, bang for your buck, enjoyability, and of course that's subjective. Subjective would be like, how enjoyable is the game? Did you actually enjoy the story? You see, there's different things that are objective and subjective, and I try to weigh and balance those when I try to review a game. Not that I even review games that often anymore. I usually don't anymore. Okay. But the problem is with modern reviewers that I found, most modern reviewers just think game reviews are subjective. It's 100% opinion, so you could just immediately just not justify anything you say in a game review, or you could say a million things about a game to say it's great and then give it a bad score, or say a million things about a game to say it's good, then give it a good or a bad and then it's a good score, and then say, oh, it's my opinion. And that's their ultimate cop-out. No. If you're a games journalist, you should be actually having criteria you use to compare games against each other. So when you give one game a 9 and one game a 4, you can objectively justify that. Not, that's just my opinion. Because if that's the case, then no game review has any value, because anyone could just give anything, any fucking number, with no actual frame of reference or any reason for it. Right? So fuck it then. Your review's worthless. You're unemployed now. Is that really what they want? Of course not. But they're morons. And they don't want to have any responsibility for what they do. And that's why I don't like games journalism. Okay. How important is originality versus a game that may do nothing new but is executed really well? Depends on the person. For example, Ghost of Tsushima. 90% of the stuff that was present in Ghost of Tsushima I've done in other games. Probably 10% of it was completely original. But that game came together to be one of the most original gameplay experiences I've ever had, and was one of my Game of the Year contenders, second favorite game of last year, okay? Versus a game that's completely new and different outside the box. I've never played anything like it before and blows me away. Both are good. So, there's no, oh, this is better than the other. That's more of a subjective decision, okay? Your final question was, where do you turn to if I'm looking for a review of a game or other form of entertainment? I don't. I'll just go online and just see, if there's a bunch of reviews out, I'll just skim through a few. I'll look at numbers. But you can't. There's no consistent place you can go because, sadly, like I said, main games journalism, they don't do a good job. They just hide under the guise of it's an opinion, and they think they don't have to justify anything they say or do, which is preposterously stupid. They shouldn't have jobs if that's their fucking... If they're that unprofessional, they shouldn't be paid for their work. Seriously. If you can't justify what you say in a game review because you just say, oh, it's just all opinion, then you shouldn't be paid for it. That's my opinion anyway. Okay. Shout outs to the patrons. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. There are still people who pledge to my Patreon. And I'm appreciative of every single one of them, because that helps me every month with a little bit of additional income. Yeah, I know, because I don't talk about Patreon that much at all. almost never these days. But thank you to those who are still ongoing patrons of mine. Shout out to the following people. That's It 007, Christopher Samuels, Rashed Bash, Ryukage 99, Archvile 82, Philippe Marcotte, Martin Hoggerud, Malachi Brennan, David Denmark, Pim Evers, Kyle George, Murdoch, Brandon LeBraiche, Robert Koger, Fallen 1570, Jack Spartacus, Joshua Wells, Johans, Big Tone 995, Walter, Daniel Bonk, Stormforce Gamer, Bill Kolpa, Wesley Schwartner, Daniel Fonseca, Manny, Yak Almighty, Dennis Liu, Litarial, Jared, Shadow King Jim, Stephen Haleski, Michael Deneal, Haseo X4, who I answered a question of his, Adam Jones, Matthew Tisworth, Mr. Studer 24, QPZMWM, Planet Jeff, Logan Shannon, Game Trekker, Yancey Benson, got that one wrong, Carlos Venegas, Cody Carls, Trevor Say, Hacking Darts, Eric Miller, Blaine Mayo, Kim S., Sean Given, Daz Bullshit, Thomas McDonald, and Super Blind Man. Thank you to all of you for your ongoing patron support. I appreciate that. All right. Now, Twitter questions. First question's from Filippo Marinara, who says, Phil, I used to love Hate Live where people could call in and have real conversations with you. It almost felt like a radio show. It was on a whole other level of fan interaction. I miss it. Would you ever consider rebooting it, even on just a semi-monthly basis? No. Here's why. Because sadly, having that someone to call in is too risky. People have found ways to find out information about me and my internet, like my IP address, and then they dox me, and then they fucking DDoS attack me, and I can't fucking put out my content anymore, all right? The times when I was doing those, you're talking 5-6 years ago, if not longer, but when I was using Skype and stuff, and since then people were able to find out my IP, there's no way that I could take that kind of risk anymore. There's no reason why I can't do a live interactive show just with people in a text format where there's zero risk, and that's what I do. So, yeah, I'm not going to be taking chances having live callers come in anymore. Plus, let's be honest, half of them were trolls anyway. So, that's pretty much a waste of time at this point. Sean asks the following. With the new Resident Evil 4 remaster being rumored to release in 2022, do you have any plans on going to do a Resident Evil 4 retro playthrough? I, for one, love your original Resident Evil 4 playthrough, but it lacks the modern feel. There was no cam. There was no live audience. I think it would hype the remaster more. Yeah, I remember I played Resident Evil 4 the year after Resident Evil 6 came out. Resident Evil 6 was what, 2012? It was either 2012 or early 2013. And so I played Resident Evil 4 around probably like 2014, 2015. I think I did direct capture, but you're right. It definitely wasn't an interactive live stream. There was no webcam, so no face cam. There was no chat. You know, there was none of that. It was just me playing it as if I was playing it offline. And I remember enjoying the game, but there are some really difficult parts of it. In particular, there's one part where you have to do something with a crank, and these enemies keep coming nonstop, infinite spawns. It's really annoying. I remember that. And then there's the part where the girl is following you, and you have to like try to get her safely around, and she's so fucking slow that it's insanely annoying. Excuse me. So that being said, I do think the game is good, and would I play it again? Yes. However, why would I play it again if they're just gonna remake it, and I'm gonna play the remake next year? Like that would kind of be like. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. Would people enjoy seeing me play the classic this year and then the remake next year, right? I guess that would be the question. If that's the case, do people want to see it when? Over the summer? The thing is, these questions keep coming up. Phil, will you play this retro game then? Will you do this game then? It's like, of course I will. But the question is there demand for it? Would people like to actually see me replay the original Resident Evil 4 over, say, the summer and then next year do the remake? Or is it too much? Would you just want to see me do the remake next year and that's it? That would be the question, and that's a question for you. That's not a question for me. That's a question for you, the viewer. If you want to see me play Resident Evil 4, why not tell me? We're now in the midst of people voting viewer's choice for the upcoming viewer's choice playthrough. Resident Evil 4 was not among the nominations. You see what I'm saying? There's opportunity for me to play these games, but it doesn't seem like people ever really bring them up or nominate them. So, Angel Devilish Cheer said, we're is my horse with a cowboy hat like that? You know, you realize you can own a cowboy hat and not have to own a horse. You know that, right? But, you know, common sense. All right, continuing on. Richard Perez asked the following: what are your thoughts with Nintendo possibly releasing a new version of the Switch with a bigger display that is OLED and possibly putting out 4K resolution when docked? You think it'll be worth upgrading at this point? Thanks, Phil. Keep up the entertaining content. Well, here's the truth. If they do that, number one, you will not see any improvement on any existing games because none of the games run at 4K. All the existing games for Switch are designed for the current Switch, right? Including all the big ones, Mario, Breath of the Wild, Mario Odyssey. They're all just going to be the current resolution. You're going to get upscaled. It ain't going to look any better. Okay, that's number one. Number two, if game developers say, oh, there's a new Switch with more processing power, it can run at 4K. Now they have to put extra time and effort to make their game have a dual output. For most people, they're just going to have the base Switch. So they have to make sure that any game they put out runs on the base Switch. That's their primary customer base. For the 10-20% of people that'll run out and buy the new Switch in the customer base, now they have to, I have to please them too, so I have to make a 4K version. You're basically creating double work for a game developer. You know what I mean? Now, maybe Nintendo's first-party companies won't care, but I could definitely see the third-party companies who already are having a hell of a time trying to port games to this current Switch, now having to develop your game for two different consoles could be pretty frustrating. I certainly would like to have Nintendo games at higher resolutions. Like, why the hell can't we get Mario with the same level of detail and definition that we could get Assassin's Creed? Seriously, now I'm not saying I want gritty Mario. I'm just saying you could have a ton of detail and things in a Mario game and make it look great. They don't usually do that. Nintendo always claims they're the company that doesn't want to compete graphically. They're not in the same competition with everyone else. If that's the case, why are they releasing a new Switch with a bigger screen, better quality with OLED, and 4K resolution? The other thing is, there was a console with an OLED screen. It was called the PS Vita. It failed miserably, and, it doesn't exist anymore. Reason it failed miserably was the game selection. Wasn't great. It didn't have enough great killer games for you to warrant a $300 to $400 console purchase. The Switch does, I feel. The Switch does actually have a ton of great games, so if you actually did get a Switch with this new screen or whatever, maybe it wouldn't fail. Plus, everything Nintendo touches is fucking gold, let's be honest here. Besides the Wii U, everything else. I mean, they made little stupid figurines that do absolutely nothing of any use, and people ran out and bought them in the millions. So everything Nintendo does ends up being successful because of their rabid fan base. So I feel that if they did release a new Switch, yes, it would sell. You're going to have people who are just Nintendo fans who are going to run out and want to buy it anyway. To me, would there be value? Probably not. Like, the value for me, I guess, instead of, I guess it would slightly improve the graphics of games. But I don't use my Switch handheld. My wife does. She plays Animal Crossing. But outside of that, we don't use it handheld. So I don't see what the difference of having a better OLED screen would be. So, there you go. Dcash 2012. It looks like they tipped me. I just want to make sure it's really them again. I'm very paranoid about checking these, and I apologize, guys, but I do get paranoid. I'm worried that if I stop checking and I start trusting, I'm going to get screwed behind the scenes. And I don't want to get screwed behind the scenes. You know what I'm saying? Okay, let's see here. Now, wait a minute. That doesn't make sense. Huh? Alright, I don't want to delay the stream. It's just confusing because I'm doing the math here, and it doesn't even add up. It's almost looking like it's possible that tip from many days ago did clear. Which still wouldn't make sense because it still wouldn't add up. It would still be off. Well, to Will, son of Aragorn, I have a question for you. If you could take a look and let me know, did your tip clear? Because if it did, that's awesome that it cleared. Because it looked like my total on my PayPal account went boop like this, but I'm doing the math and adding what that tip would have been plus this isn't correct. Anyway, yes, this is a verified tip. So Dcash 2012 tipped me $1.30 and says, would I consider doing 24-hour Ask the King? Absolutely not. I can barely go as long as I do now. My voice gets worn out. So I could never go 24 hours. That would not be possible. Looks like I got another tip. Hold on. Oh, Wilson of Aragorn says no. It says to him it's still pending. So I don't know what happened then. You know what might have happened? You know what might have happened? I might have had a long-standing tip that was charged back, and it might have finally been found in my favor. Oh, wait a minute. No, I know what happened. I got a tip. Yeah, here we go. I just received a $37 tip from Silent Bob. That's what happened. And I didn't see it. It didn't pop up. Because here's what happened. You guys remember that I had to change from Streamlabs over to Stream Elements, and I still don't know why. They still never answered me. They just ignore me. So I guess I got shadow banned with no explanation at all. Who knows if it was intentional? Who knows if it was a technical issue? I guess I'll never know because they're not answering me. But there were a few people who actually would tip me on a daily basis, and they weren't actually on the live streams. What they would do is once a day they would send me a tip through the Streamlabs link, and I would get it, and they would say, they would say, here's your tip, and they would say the name and the message that they wanted or whatever. And Silent Bob was actually one of those people. And then what's happened is they go to send a tip, the link doesn't work anymore, so now they just send it kind of directly to my PayPal, but I don't know it until I check my PayPal, and I'm like, wait, what? Oh, there it is. So thank you, Silent Bob. That's a $37 tip from Silent Bob that I just got, okay? And then it looks like I got another tip here. I gotta make sure this one's real. Yes, this one is from Sishin, who tipped me $4.18. Says, do I ever intend to resume my Salt and Sanctuary playthrough? It was really fun to watch. Too bad you stopped. If you remember, that game, if I remember, was during a marathon. Now, I don't remember if the marathon was particularly... I don't remember if the marathon was like an Indies marathon or if it was done for a Halloween marathon. But I always leave it a possibility during those marathons. I say, if you guys would like me to continue one of those games, I would absolutely consider it because I own them. I bought them for the marathon. It's a no-brainer that I would actually continue to play that game. It's one that I own, there's no skin off my back, no risk. So, of course, the answer is yes, I would consider it. But I don't think any considerable amount of people have actually asked me to continue that playthrough at all since I played it during a marathon. I think it was a couple of years ago, right? So, sadly, I never really considered it. If anyone wanted it, yeah, again, I do viewers' choice events, right? I do viewers' choice events, and these games could easily be nominated and easily be picked as a playthrough game, but that one just never made it, okay? Thank you for the tip. Wilson of Aragorn cheered twice. First year he said, the tip from the other day still shows as pending. And he cheered again. He says, I've been watching it since Monday. Okay, thank you. Because I'm keeping an eye on it too. I thought that might have been it. And I would have obviously added to the total and given a shout out. But it actually wasn't that right now. Jory Seinfeld, resubscribed for 10 months. Says, what's Jasper been up to? Keep up the good work. And P.S., please bring back Morrowind. So, Jasper's cool. Jasper was actually just running around the house being silly. When I was making the sauce this morning, he was jumping on the counter. He was smelling the salt pork that I cut to put into the sauce. And he tried to lick it. I was like, no, I stopped him. But, yeah, he's a silly cat. He's just to get into everything. But he did not like the smell of the garlic, and he hightailed it out of there when I started cutting the garlic, which is pretty funny. And by the way, starting tomorrow, Jasper will be joining us for daytime streams. You'll be able to see him tomorrow. Good stuff. Frankie Peller has subscribed to the channel for 2 months. Thank you, Frankie Peller, for the resub. Very nice. All right, so I believe Wilson of Aragorn just tried to tip a smaller amount to see if it would go through. Let's look here. And it went through. And it's verified. So thank you, Wilson of Aragorn. He says, sorry about stuff being messed up. Monday's tip didn't clear yet, but I'm curious if this smaller one will go through. It did. So thank you, Wilson of Aragorn, for a $10 tip. It did go through. Thank you for that, man. And it shows it's verified, so we're all good on this end. It just sounds like larger tips your bank for some reason is gonna hold up. So thank you. Thank you, sir. The poll's almost over, by the way, but we still got 2 more questions left. PW Dubs asked the following. He's banned from the chat, but I still answer his question on Twitter. He says, What do you feel like is left to accomplish so far as a streamer? You're already a highly successful Twitch partner. Do you have long-term goals? I actually already answered that. I forgot I already answered that. I want to diversify my content eventually. I want to do other stuff than just gameplay. I don't want to do that now because I love the gameplay. But I realize as I get older, I'm not going to be the most pertinent guy to be playing games anymore. And in addition to that, I'm not going to have the hand-eye coordination and responses I needed to succeed at a lot of games. I'm not going to be able to play tougher games anymore when I get older, right? So I want to do other stuff. I'd like to do it. If anything, the last few years, being an interactive streamer has shown me that being kind of a host of a show where I could talk with you guys and hang out and interact, it would be a great idea. And that's the kind of stuff I want to do when I diversify in the future. Okay? The last question, by the way, the vest poll is about to end. The last question is going to be from Snow White. But let's see which wins the vest poll first. Let me grab the vest. Why was PW Dubs banned? Because he was being an asshole. That's why. What do you think? What do you think was going on? There's no conspiracy there. He's just being a jerk. All right, beige. Beige vest. Jeez. And again, I've worn the beige vest so infrequently. I didn't wash this in about a month, but I think I've only worn it like twice. It smells fresh, like right out of the wash. All right, very nice, guys. Thank you for your support today. Thank you for supporting Ask the King. I appreciate that. The final question is from Snow White. She says, where are you hiding the 7 dwarves? They've been missing for years. I suspect that they're in your basement. Sounds like a new conspiracy theory. I'm just kidding. That's not what the question was. The question is actually as follows. Console restocks have been an absolute disaster, with websites selling out in less than seconds, to the PlayStation 5 Direct's unfair random queues, and in-store stocks won't even be seen supposedly until Christmas time this year. When do you think PS5 will be back in stores, and when do you think everyone will have a fair chance to get a PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X without worrying about selling out in scalpers? Yeah, I mean, there's two real reasons why everything went to shit with this. The first reason is the pandemic, all right? Because of the pandemic, they couldn't sell these consoles in stores anymore. Everything had to be online, all right? And that just opened the floodgates for scalpers to find out ways to abuse all the online ordering systems, buy all the consoles up, and try to sell them for insanely inflated prices that are completely unfair to the consumer. And it's hurting the game companies because they're not selling games on consoles that are sitting around in a warehouse because someone scalped them all, okay? It's a major problem. The other problem here is, because of the pandemic, they can't manufacture enough of the processors and stuff needed to mass produce these consoles. The production is basically stalled. It's not dead, but it's way slower than normally a console production system would be, so they can't pump out enough new consoles to flood the market so the scalpers won't have control over it anymore. You see what I mean? If they had 1 million, 2 million, 3 million new consoles every month, the scalpers wouldn't be dead in the water. Who cares? You can buy direct from the business no matter what. The scalpers can't buy every single one, so it wouldn't be an issue. The problem is the quantities are incredibly limited with what's being put out there as new, so the scalpers are swiping them all up. Okay? Now, all that being said, it's such a unique situation. I don't know. I mean, you would think by the end of 2021 they get their act together. A whole year. Because can you name another time ever in history, a year after the launch of a console, you can't just go buy one, right? Ever? The Switch was very popular for a while, but 6-8 months you could get one. PlayStation 4 I bought on launch day, no problem, and they were fully stocked. Xbox One was the same deal. The last time I can remember there being a major issue was Xbox 360, and the reason was they were all faulty. The whole first wave of Xbox 360s were red ringing left and right. They all have faulty graphics cards. So because of that, everyone had a faulty console, and then they all had to get them replenished, so there wasn't enough stock to go. I'd say it probably took 6 to 8 months, then everyone could get an Xbox 360. We've never, ever been in this situation before, ever, where you just cannot get the consoles. My wife wants one. My wife, of course, Kat wants a PS5. She's a huge PlayStation fan. She's waiting to play God of War Ragnarok. She wants to play the new Horizon Zero Dawn. She loved Horizon Zero Dawn. She played the game twice because she liked it so much. And she's waiting. She's like, this is bullshit. I didn't know I was going to have to wait this long to get a PS5. Luckily, there's really no PS5 exclusives out, that she's not missing out on anything right now. But she's pissed. She wanted one too. She can't buy. No one can buy this fucking thing. You know? So, it is what it is. I would, my estimate and my hope would be hopefully by the end of 2021, we've got the situation in hand and everyone can get one. I personally want to get an Xbox Series X by the time that Halo Infinite comes out. Okay? I don't know if I'm going to at this point. You know, it's not looking good. It really is not looking good. You have to basically be on alert for a drop in the middle of the night of these consoles to hit retailers, then jump on the fucking website and click through and get it's like a crapshoot if you're gonna get it or not. And I'm sorry, I don't have time for that shit. I got a business to run, I got a life. I don't have time for that stupid shit. You know, that's for some dumb fuck scalper to do and then try to resell. And no, I'm not. I absolutely positively refuse to buy any console ever from a scalper. I will never do that. That's the worst thing you could do. You're 100% contributing to the problem. And anyone out there who does that, you're contributing to the problem. Anyone who's a content creator out here who does that, shame on fucking you. Instead of being a example to your viewers, you did the wrong thing for personal gain. That's fucked up. Okay? So do not support scalpers. I don't know. I would hope by the end of the year, but I don't have the answers. It's just a unique situation. Okay? Let's see here. So, final shout-outs of the day. Total Scorn cheered. He said, you would fit great as a video game character with a cowboy hat, gunner glasses, and platinum vest. This is not a platinum vest. This is a beige. It's a classic beige. This is the quintessential vest that started the streak last year, and I love it. It's puffy. It's comfy. It smells great. What the hell? There's a hot dog in the pocket here. Look at this. I'm just kidding. Timbo Slice Cheer, he says, what is your cam have a yellow tint today? Is it due to lighting? Yes. When I started Ask the King earlier today, it was very sunny outside. So what I did is I closed my blinds, I turned my lamp here to maximum, and I turned on my fan in the office so I would have air circulation so it would stay cool enough for me to do this with the blinds completely closed. Since then, the sun went away. Hello, everyone. I've raised the yellow veil. You see, when it's just the lamp, it looks very yellow, has a yellow tint to it. But when I have the natural light from outside, it looks better, right? But nothing I could do. The sun was too bright earlier, so I had to have the blinds down. And that's what, so there you go. We're back. We're back to non-yellow. Let's see here. Why do Oblivion cheer? So why can't Kat use your PS5? Because it's my PS5 for business. I use it every day for work. How exactly would she use it, bro? Common sense, motherfucker. Do you have it? The answer is no. Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys very much for a great Ask the King. I really enjoyed this episode. I think there were some pretty good questions. Even though there were maybe one or two questions that are reiterations of things from the past, there was a lot there that weren't. And I had a good time. Thank you to those who submitted questions on the forums. Thanks to those who submitted questions on Twitter. We're out of time. We don't have time for stream chat questions. Sorry about that, because I knew that might happen because I knew I was starting a little bit later making a pot of Italian sauce, but it is what it is. Now, the next episode of Ask the King is scheduled for mid-May. I think it's actually May 13th, something like that. Now, that may change because if you guys have seen the games release schedule, April, May, and June are actually quite heavy for new game releases. And if there's so many new releases coming out back to back that we're covering them nonstop, then I'm not going to interrupt nonstop new game releases to do an episode of Ask the King. But I promise you, there will be another one. You guys seem to like it. And we'll see what happens, all right? Now, remember, best way to submit questions is on my forums on thekingofhate.com. There's already a link there for you to do so. Or right now in stream chat, you could type !Ask the King. It'll bring up the link to the forums right now. You could actually submit your questions right now for the next episode if you would like. You got any ideas from today's show that you want to do? All right, I'll put the link in the description of this video on YouTube so you can post up your questions for the next show right away. All right? Ladies and gentlemen, thank you. That was a good episode. I had fun with that. I hope you guys had fun with that too. And I hope to see you next time around on Ask the King. Sound good? Everyone, please have a good evening. Peace out, and I'll see you next time.